Good morning, welcome back to Auto Anatomy, where we are bringing classics back to life. My name is Sean, and today we're working on the flooded Corvair again. Now, I get asked all the time, when are you guys gonna do paint and body, paint and body? It's coming soon, I promise. There's still a few more, believe it or not, mechanical issues that we've got to work out before I want to go ahead and start working on the cosmetic side of things. And one of the big glaring things is the rear suspension. Now, a few videos ago, I'll put a link up there, we went through and did the entire front suspension rebuild, but the rear suspension is actually pretty original, right down to the bushings. Now, the only thing that we've done is put some new shocks on it, but it's the original springs, they're worn out, all of the original bushings, everything on it. So today, we're gonna be making a big upgrade to the rear suspension. We're gonna replace all of the bushings in the back end of the car, and I'm gonna show you a budget way to really tighten up those bushings, as well as put in some new springs, and then we can talk about the future plans for the Corvair. Before we dive in, if you like seeing this kind of content, take just a second and click on that subscribe button and ring the bell for new videos. It's an absolutely free way to help support our channel. All right, let's dive into to showing you exactly what parts we're going to replace on the flooded Corvair. Coming around to the bench, here is a late model. This is a driver's side rear arm, and it's just got the stock rubber bushing in place. This one is actually far better, I think, than what we have in it, but you can see how soft and squishy that is. So what we're going to replace it with is it's a Speedway Motors part number 916-34048. And this is a spherical bushing with a Heim joint in it. Taken out of the package, you can see what we're working with here. Let me see if I can dig this rubber out here. With the rubber out of it, you can see exactly what we're working with. Now, this is a steel Heim joint, but it's got a urethane cage around the joint, and then it's sitting inside of a steel cage. So it's not metal on metal, but it's pretty close. My hope is that, typically these things are pretty harsh for street use, but having that urethane cage in there hopefully will reduce some of the unwanted vibrations. As far as the springs are concerned, I just went to Clark's and picked up a set of HD rear springs. They're supposed to drop the back of the car about 3/4 of an inch, which I'm not too unhappy with the way the car sits. I mean, it's up in the air at the moment, but I think that the springs are just so worn out that it's sagging anyway. So best case scenario, it just puts it right back to where it was. So why don't we pop the wheels off and take a look and see exactly how destroyed the original factory bushings are on this 60-year-old car. So with the wheel off, you can see exactly how original this car is. The bushings, everything is from 1965. The only thing that I've changed is these bushings, which are different, but otherwise, the front control arm bushings, you can see the original springs, and oh wow, it looks like it's even still got a tag on it. That's cool. The shocks are done, but otherwise it's completely original. Now what we're gonna do is pull everything off. So I think in order to do this, and I've never done this before, but just thinking it through, I think I need to pop the drum off so that I can undo the hub assembly. I'll need to undo the drive shaft as well. Pop the spring loose and then the brake hose, and then everything should just swing right down out of the way. All right, let's get started getting the brakes off, and then hopefully get this thing knocked out pretty quick. And you will see I do have some rust repair that I need to do in that front corner of the arch here, but we're gonna hold off on that for the moment because I've got some rust here, some rust here, some rust here. So I've basically got this whole panel that needs to get replaced. So I figure when I'm in the mode of doing rust repair, we'll just do it then and then get it undercoated and all pretty. But in the meantime, let's get this guy off and see exactly how bad those bushings are. Wow, this is dirty down here. Guess I've got some more cleaning to do. So a little tip on getting the parking brake cables out. They're hard to squeeze because you've got little springs that clip out, that pop out, you know, multiple places. You can take a socket and just slide it right over, and got to make sure it fits through the end here. All right, take a socket, slide it over, and you should be able to press it onto here, and it'll collapse all of them at the same time. So let me find the right socket for this guy, and we should be able to pop this off. Then this whole hub assembly should be able to come right out. All right, so the hub's off, the shock's out, the bar in the front's off. I think we're ready to drop this guy down. So let me take some pressure off the jack here, and this should swing right out of the way. And of course, one of them broke off, and it's this one right here. I've got a little bit of work to do to get this one out, but then we can start cleaning things up and put this thing back together. Whew. Well, that only took about 2 hours. So look at this pile of nuts. That's how many it took in order to get that one broken bolt off right there. That's craziness. Okay, got both arms off, got them taken apart, and hopefully you can see just how bad these bushings are. I mean, these things are flaking, falling apart. Look at how much room we've got between the bushing and the sleeve. I could probably pull the sleeve out without even trying too hard. Let's see if we can do that. Pretty sure this is supposed to be maybe not bonded in, but a little bit harder than that to come out. All right, let's get our C-clamp press, get these bushings out, and start cleaning up the arms. So this is the driver's side arm that came off the car, and this one is one that I picked up from my buddy Barry, and I think I'm actually just going to use it only because it's cleaner than this one. This one's got a bunch of undercoat and stuff like that already in it, and this one looks like it's been cleaned, and it had been painted at one point, but this one should just be a little bit easier to clean up and get pretty. Otherwise, it's an identical arm. So I'll just start pressing this bushing out, get this one cleaned up, and we'll throw this one on the car. If you've been following this channel at all, you know how much I love my OTC ball joint press. This thing works amazing, and we're just going to try it again for pulling these bushings out. Almost there. Got a little bit more to go. So while I've got some paint stripper on the lower control arm here, I just want to show you a difference in the old spring compared to the new spring. So again, this is just a regular 110 Monza coupe spring, and this is the Clark's HD spring, and they said it's supposed to lower it about 3/4 of an inch. But looking at the height difference, you can see it's way more than 3/4 of an inch. So the new spring is right about 14 inches, and the old spring is 15.5 inches or so. But that's not the only difference. If you measure the wire diameter, here we're at about 570, and on the old one, we're about 540. So my only real concern now is with the ride height. My hope is that the rear springs were just sagging enough so that when I put these lower springs on, that it sits roughly level. Otherwise, we may have to go back to the front end. If you've swapped out the HD springs in the rear, let me know in the comments below what you've done. I'm curious to see what other people have done on their cars. Well, I got everything cleaned up, all the arms, all the suspension bits, everything, and hit it with some VHT satin black paint. I'm not a huge fan of high gloss paint for suspension bits. I just tend to like the satin a little bit better, just personal preference. But now that everything's cleaned up, the next step is to press the bushing in. And this is going to be super easy because it may not translate well on picture here, but there is a ridge right about there, and the bushing will just press right in up to that ridge, and then we're done. So all I need to do now is just get out the ball joint press again, press this guy back into place, and we can start assembly. So we're all pressed in, and I think just for a little peace of mind, I'm just going to put a couple of tacks onto the bearing shell. I thought this was aluminum, but it's actually steel. Got the magnet out. So we'll just tack it in a few spots on both sides just to lock it in place, and then I think it's ready to install. Well, with the bushing welded in, I think we're ready to assemble. Now, I am a stickler also about new hardware for things like this. I mean, the bolts are 60 years old. Let's replace them. So I tend to put like grade 8 bolts back in for suspension bits. And just a tip, I don't know if yours is the same way, but we've got a Tractor Supply company here in the Greenville area, and they sell all of their bolts by the pound, and they're like $5 a pound. So this bolt by itself at another store was $4.99. I got all of the bolts plus some other stuff for $4.50. So definitely a tip to save some money. Well, let's get this guy assembled. And one of the super nice things about this being a ball joint instead of a bushing is that I can tighten this bolt up as tight as I want to, and it still moves freely, so no bind. Might as well clean up the brakes while we're doing. So I've got the driver's side knocked out. I still have this whole box of brake parts that I need to clean up and paint before I can put back on, you know, me with dirty parts. So while the paint's drying on the brake bits, let me go ahead and knock out the passenger side, and then we can go take this thing on a test drive. And I am excited to see how much of an improvement having rear suspension that actually stays in place does, as well as the difference in feel with the new rear springs. Well, I got the brakes back on the driver's side, went ahead and just knocked out the passenger side. It's the exact same as the other side, and I'm getting ready to put it back on its feet again. I'm really curious to see what the ride height's going to be, so let's drop it back on its feet again. It is definitely lower in the back. I'm gonna say probably a good ½ inch to an inch back there, and now it's making the front look like it's got some Carolina squat going here. I may need to do something about the front, but we'll drive it and let it settle and see how it does. So let me get cleaned up, let me get me cleaned up, and then we'll go take it for a quick ride. With the car outside, you can really see how much lower the back end is now compared to the front end. I wonder, like, what's the height on it here? Let me grab a tape measure. So the front is 25.5, and the back is about 24.75. So yeah, it's about 3/4 inch drop compared to where it was. I was expecting the original springs would have sagged more than that, but I guess not. Now I really need to do something about the front end because it looks like it's jacked up. All right, let's go take it for a drive and see how it feels. So first thing I noticed right off the bat is it's strange. It's like it's firm and it's stiff, the suspension, but it's actually smoother and quieter than it was before. And I don't know if that's just because the bushings were just so worn out that the arms were going in and out or twisting or whatnot, but I don't mind it actually. It's not objectionable at all. You know, if you told me this was an original bushing and I had nothing to compare it to, I would be completely fine with it and wouldn't think a moment about it. I think the combination of the KYB gas adjust shocks and the HD springs is a good combination. It's firm without being too aggressive. Definitely something that you could drive every day. I'll take it on some a little bit more aggressive turns here, and car handles great. Over some bumpy terrain, no problems whatsoever. It's nice and planted feeling. There is something that I need to do though, which is now address the front suspension, because we went through and did all the bushings and ball joints and tie rod ends and everything like that. But if you remember in that video, I used some stock springs and just cut a coil out of them. It definitely brought it down some, but now it looks like, you know, it's jacked up in the front. So got to do some changes there, but that'll be coming in another video. That's gonna wrap this video up. In the next one, we're gonna be doing some brake upgrades for the front of the car. I've got a surprise for all of you guys because we're gonna be putting a killer brake upgrade on the front of the flooded Corvair. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and we will see you soon.